All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. I am Andrew, aka Anti-Authoritarian Mindgasms, for the purposes of this video, and I'm going to talk about basically the latest dumbass rhetoric from the internet famous clinical psychologist who I often criticize, Jordan Peterson, and his authoritarian stance on gender affirming care. Because recently, I think it was either just today or extremely recently, the state of Texas in the US banned gender affirming care for minors. So he tweeted support of this and called it referred to gender affirming care as literally verbatim. He said gender affirming care is a criminally evil lie, and I have in brackets there, as you can see, so let's outlaw it, because he approves of it literally being outlawed, which is fucking authoritarian as fucked. And I thought he was supposed to be anti-authoritarian. That's borderline eugenics in my opinion. Anyway, I'm just going to show you his tweets here and then the article that he's referring to. So, of course, as you can see here, he said the phrase gender affirming care is a criminally evil lie. And you probably noticed in the thumbnail I have Elon Musk in the thumbnail too, because he tweeted very quick support of it. He replied to him and said gender affirming care for minors is pure evil. And this is the article: Texas bans gender affirming care for minors after governor signs bill. So this is the article here that I will go to. And yeah, like, just listen to how fucking authoritarian this shit is. All right. So let me put my glasses on to read this here. Texas ban. So this is from the CTV News. So they're going to be biased because they're biased towards the Liberal Party, but they probably don't. They're probably not getting the facts wrong, I would say. So Texas bans gender affirming care for minors after governor signs bill. Okay. Austin, Texas. Texas has become the most populous state to ban gender affirming care for minors after Governor Greg Abbott signed legislation on Friday. Texas joined at least 18 other states that have enacted similar bans. Every major medical organization, including the American Medical Association, has opposed the bans and supported medical care for youth when administered appropriately. Lawsuits have been filed in several states where bans have been enacted this year. I think that approach makes a hell of a lot more sense, right? Medical care for youth when administered appropriately. Like this, all this paranoia about like women, or not women, but children being converted to being trans is not how fucking sexuality works, as Jordan Peterson should know, as like having expertise in treating patients in psychology or psychiatry. And that, like, that's not how sexuality works. Kids who become trans, either, or like, they were going to become trans anyway. It's not like introducing them to the possibility of being trans means that they're going to become trans. So for the most part, this gender affirming care stuff for children is actually for children who actually, for one reason or another, just are transitioning, or some other medical complication. Like, one is that, when one that I heard from the other day from Crystal Ball from Breaking Points, is that girls can have testosterone that's too high when they're going through puberty, so they can get puberty blockers for that. And there are all sorts of other things. Like, I wrote a blog a long time ago, for example, about rare cases in which children are born with female genitalia and then they grow male genitals in puberty. So they're literally born as sexual females and they turn into sexual males in puberty. But anyway, let's go on here. So even American Medical Association and every major medical organization oppose these bans because they're fucking authoritarian and borderline the borderline eugenics, I would say, not allowing people to do that if they have the consent of their doctor. If they have the consent of their doctor, the government shouldn't get a fucking say in that, and especially not outlawing it. And Jordan Peterson approves of like outlawing this medical practice that happens with the consent of adults. Like, Jesus. Okay, last year, Abbott became the first governor to order the investigation of families who were receiving care. Like, see how fucking authoritarian, like borderline fascist this is, and borderline eugenics? uh, Investigation of families who were receiving care. The investigations were later halted by a Texas judge. At least the judge had some damn sense. Like, you're investigating families, or oh, are you doing the right gender affirming care? Or if you're doing your Jordan Peterson voice, are you doing the right gender affirming care? It's butchery. Because as you can see in my thumbnail, I'm quoting him saying, "Stop the butchers! Those people who do gender affirming care are butchers, okay?" And remember from his podcast that he did with the progressive commentator Kyle Kalinske that he's not even sure if gender affirming care or gender transition surgeries from doctors should be allowed for consenting adults. So that's fucking ridiculously authoritarian and borderline fascist and borderline eugenics. Okay, so the GOP controlled legislators sent the bill to Abbott last month. Republicans in the Senate took the final vote over the objections from Democrats, who used parliamentary maneuvers to delay the passage but could not derail it entirely. I would like, I'm not a guy who thinks Democrats are good guys, of course. I think they're almost as bad as Republicans for sure. And I probably wouldn't vote for Democrats or Republicans if I were American, which I'm not. So anyway, it's good that they did that, tried to block it, but obviously didn't succeed. Transgender rights activists have disrupted the Texas House with protests from the chamber gallery. Good, as long as they don't get violent, which led to state police forcing demonstrators to move outside the building. Oh, okay. You can't do it inside the building? Well, as long as they can do it outside the building, and as long as they don't get violent, of course. All right. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to quickly comment on that latest dumbass rhetoric from Jordan Peterson. And, uh, you know, basically that's it in a nutshell. Jordan Peterson is really fucking authoritarian, borderline fascist, and borderline supporting eugenics when it comes to the issues of trans people and gender affirming care. He literally thinks it should be fucking outlawed. Like, you don't have to approve of trans people. You can think they're weird. You can even think they're evil because of your religion or abominations or some shit. You don't have to agree with me or anyone else that trans people deserve to be treated just as well as any other people, but outlawing them doing this practice that they should be allowed to do, altering their body with the consent of their doctors as they're doing. And like, especially with adults, with children, I understand being more hesitant about that for sure, but there are all sorts of other reasons, even not to do with gender transitioning, like I mentioned, that are reasons that this should still be fucking legal, I think, right? All right, so yeah, anyway, this is like Jordan Peterson has go like his views have fucking jumped the shark, man. He thinks that he's authoritarian, borderline fascist, and borderline supporting eugenics with this new gender affirming bill. All right, so thanks for watching this little quickie review of the latest dumbass rhetoric from Jordan Peterson. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Next one I'm going to do is going to be tomorrow with my friend Dusty, who I often do podcasts with, and we're going to talk about the book called Wizard and Glass, which is the fourth one in the famous horror author Stephen King's Dark Tower series, which is kind of like fantasy western slash sci-fi fantasy slash horror. And this one is basically mostly a flashback of Roland, the main character, who is a cowboy slash gunslinger with magic gun powers. Um, he is telling a story in the form of a flashback to his other gunslinger partners, and we finally learn most of the details about his tragic and mysterious past. All right. So yeah, check that out. Check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description as always. Smash that like button. Share this everywhere. Share the Mindgasms all over the world with everyone. And like I always say, most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And I don't hate Jordan Peterson as much as some people. I don't think he's like a fucking Nazi or some shit like that. Like, people get ridiculously carried away with their criticisms, and that's one of the examples. And I think he means well, and he's helped a lot of people, but he says a lot of really dumb shit, especially when it comes to philosophy, as I've talked about ad nauseum on my channel. Whenever he mentions postmodernism or Marxism or anything like that, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. All right. Anyway, thanks again, everyone, for watching, and adios until next time.